Homework 1.6, Other Types of Equations, Video 7. Homework due on Saturday, May 16th, 2020 at 11:59 p.m. The last type of equation in the section that I chose to cover, because there are a couple that I chose to omit for the sake of time and your sanity, are absolute value equations. And like the previous types of equations, I'm going to take 2 videos to go over some examples. But before we solve one like this one, we should really talk about what absolute value means, because understanding it will help us in the next series of videos. Now, most people, when they've seen absolute value before, they've seen something like, what's the absolute value of -5? Those 2 parallel vertical lines are the absolute value bars. Do you know what the absolute value of -5 is? I'll give you a hint. It's the same as the absolute value of +5. And the reason why is because what absolute value is measuring. Absolute value measures the distance from 0 on the real number line as opposed to the imaginary number line. So anytime you're asked what's the absolute value of something, you're being asked a question. The question is, how far away from 0 are you? So if I were to draw a number line and go over to -5, what the absolute value of -5 is asking is how many spaces are here. Since you're counting distance, it's positive, there are 5 spaces there. The absolute value of -5 is 5. Guess which other number is 5 spaces away from 0? On the other side, the number 5 spaces away from 0 is +5. So the absolute value of +5 is asking the question, how many spaces away from 0 is 5? And the answer is 5. 5. What most people think they know about absolute value is it just turns numbers positive. But what it's really asking, and why it turns them positive, is it's asking how far away from 0 are you. So to the left, the negative number, and to the right, the positive. But both of them are 5 away from 0. Now, how can we use that to help build a technique and understand how to solve absolute value equations? Well, think about this equation. Solve the absolute value of 3x plus 4 is equal to 7. Well, knowing what absolute value means, what we're saying is that this expression is 7 spaces away from 0 on the number line. So in other words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Either 3x plus 4 is there, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 3x plus 4 is there. Well, wait a minute. What numbers live here and here? Well, the number 7 spaces to the left of 0 is -7, and the number 7 spaces to the right is +7. So what that means is that the thing inside of here is either 7, or the thing inside, which is 3x plus 4, is equal to -7. Now, we don't need a picture to set this up, but the picture kind of justifies why we set it up that way, because this is not asking, it's saying this expression is 7 spaces away from 0. So it's either to the left 7 and it's equal to -7, or it's to the right 7 and it's equal to +7. Now, we can solve these pretty quickly, so we'll do that in just a moment. But I wanted to go ahead and set up the 3 steps for solving an absolute value equation. The second step is to rewrite the equation as inside equals a number and inside equals the negative number. Now, what do I mean by inside a number? Well, I'll go ahead and kind of give you the tail end of the first step, even though we haven't had to do it, but I bet you can figure out what it is. In fact, I'll just tell you. Isolate the absolute value. I mentioned in a previous video that isolating an expression is a common first move so that you can handle that expression on its own. Isolate the absolute value, but I'm going to put a comma until the equation reads quote, absolute value of something on the inside equals a number. So I guess I kind of had to give you the first step in order to make sense of the second step. Once you have an equation that says the absolute value of something on the inside is equal to a number, like this one started, then you can write two equations. Either the inside is that number, or the inside is the negative of that number. Either this is equal to 7, or this is equal to negative 7. Your third step is to finish solving. And there's no need to check for extraneous solutions. If you do everything correctly, there will be no extraneous solutions. I'm saying that knowing full good and well that there's a but, and you'll see in the next video. Well, let's solve both of these. Subtract 4 on both sides, we get 3x is equal to 3. Divide by 3 and we get x is equal to 1. Nothing to look at there. Over here, subtract 4 from both sides and we get 3x equals negative 11. And then divide both sides by 3 and get x equals negative 11 thirds. I could have swore I've seen this fraction appear in a previous problem's solution set, but oh well. Maybe that's just me remembering tons of problems. So solving an absolute value equation is actually easy to understand if you know that absolute value measures distance from 0. So saying the absolute value of 3x plus 4 is equal to 7 is the same as saying that 3x plus 4 is 7 spaces to the left of 0, so it's equal to negative 7, or 7 spaces to the right of 0, so it's equal to 7. And then you solve both. In the next and final video, I'll show you that one thing to be aware of. There technically can be extraneous solutions, but you can catch them before they happen, and I'll show you how to do that.